Okay, this is reading for third grade, week 1. Miss McWhorter has a Google Classroom set up that your parents need to go to, or you need to go to, and you need to listen to the book. She's reading it to you. The book is The Chocolate Touch, and y'all started it or have gotten close to starting it. But I know that the packet here can look a little intimidating. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through and I'm going to make sure you understand what you need to be doing on these activities. I'm only going to do the first packet for now, and then I will go on to the chapter 6 packet next time, okay? So once you've listened to the book on Google Classroom, you need to start completing these pages, and you don't have to do them all at once. So you notice that they're broken up by chapters. So I'm just going to try to get as far as I can without making this video too terribly long, but you need to make sure you're listening to the chapters before you do these packets, okay? So chapter 2, after you've listened to the through chapter 2, you're going to answer these and write. So what was unusual about the coin that John found? Do you think John should have spent the coin or saved it? And then again, you have to write why or why not, okay? Describe the tonic or medicine that John had to take, and then find 2 new and interesting words and look them up in a dictionary. So think about some words that you might have heard in the story, and you can look them up in the dictionary. I know that you can even type the word in on your parent's cell phone and figure out what that word means. You just write those you'll write the definitions there, okay? All right. Also, after chapter 2, you are doing inferencing, okay? Remember, we combine the words from the text with our background knowledge or schema. We can infer meaning or read between the lines. Infer what the author is conveying in each quote, okay? Guys, inferencing is a big part of reading now, okay? So they want you to take what you know and what you've understood about the story, and you're going to make an inference, okay? So the first one here, from the text, it said it was a neat red brick building with 2 big show windows. They were full of all sorts of candy, okay? So we can infer that the store was a blank. So thinking about that and thinking about what you know, so here it may be something like full of candy. You could write there, and then you can infer that that store was a candy store, okay? So that's what would go there. You would finish the sentence. John decided it might be sensible to enter his house quietly. With a large candy box hidden behind him, he let himself inside by the back door and crept up the kitchen stairway on tiptoe toward his own room. That should be a room there. That's a typo, but and then you're going to use schema. What do you think he's doing? All right, and then you can infer that John is trying to. All right. Chapter 3. Once you've listened to chapter 3 through chapter 3, you need to fill in these boxes. It says find 2 new and interesting words and look them up in the dictionary. Again, that's kind of the same from the last chapter 2. What happened when John brushed his teeth? So you need to write in complete sentences what happened when he brushed his teeth. Would you like to eat John's breakfast if it tasted the same way John's tasted? Why or why not? And why was Mrs. Minus puzzled at the end of this chapter? Okay. Again, complete sentences. And then on this page, you're going to be doing some predicting. Based on what you have read so far, make a prediction about what might happen in this book. You can also use the book cover for clues. Make predictions and draw a picture for each one, okay? So, 3 predictions. What do you think from listening to the story so far? And if you were able to see the title of the book, what do you think is going to happen? Okay, so just write a sentence about what you think might happen, draw a picture of that one, and make 2 more predictions, same thing. All right, after you finish chapter 4, you are going to look at and answer these questions. What surprising thing happened to John's club? How did John react? So what happened and how did he react to it? You're going to look up 2 new interesting words and write them there, their definition. Oh, it doesn't even say you have to write the definition. I'm sorry. So you just can write 2 new words, okay? Is Spider John's friend? How can you tell? And why does Susan cry? You're going to have to tell me in a complete sentence. Susan cried because, okay? Or over here, Spider John is or is not John's friend because, okay? So those are some clues there how you can like a couple of those. All right, after chapter 4, you have fantasy versus realism. Events that could not really happen, such as talking animals, are called fantasy. Events that could happen in the real world are examples of realism. Choose 3 events from the story that fit each category. So 3 things that have been fantasy so far in the story, you're going to write them, and 3 things that are real that could happen. So an example, the fantasy is usually pretty easy for you guys to come up with because you can point that out in a story. But realism is just John goes to school. Okay, that's something in real life that can happen. So that might be one to start you off there. So that's realism, an example of realism for the story. All right, chapter 5. Find 2 new and interesting words again and look them up in the dictionary. All right, how did John's chocolate problem change when he nibbled on his pencil? How did John feel about his drink at the water fountain? And do you think Mrs. Pimsel or John's parents will believe him? Why or why not? Okay, so again, complete sentences. An example would be, I believe that Mrs. Pimsel will not believe John because, okay, or I believe John's parents will believe him because. So this is kind of like a prediction here that you're going to be doing. And then cause and effect when you get done with chapter 5. Cause and effect are events in the story or real life are often related by cause and effect. One event causes another event to happen. Identify 3 causes and their effects from this part of the chocolate touch. Okay, so an example of cause and effect would be, let's see, my shoe was untied, so I tripped. My shoe is untied, so I tripped. This happened, and so the effect of it was that I fell down, okay? My shoe was untied, I fell down. So I've given you a couple of hints here on some things that you can choose. So I put Susan cries as the effect. Well, what caused Susan to cry? So you're gonna write a sentence over here about that. John nibbled on his pencil. What happened because John nibbled on his pencil would go over here. And then you need to come up with one more cause and effect to write down there, okay? Again, try to make sure that you remember capital letters, punctuation, complete sentences. And that is it for week 1 of reading.